Holmon, was there any player that impressed you in practice today, or any of the sessions or any of the drills?
I think there's a few guys that continue to kind of come out there and impress. I think Ruben had him a good day, doing a good job of coming out, running behind his pads, kind of seeing, getting his run tracks right. Marcel continues to impress me just with a lot of things that we're throwing on him. He made some good checks out there, protection-wise, but also run game, getting able to kind of use the cadence and see what the defense is in and trying to get us into the right play and push us into the right spots. Saw a couple skilled guys make some plays. Isaiah Horton made some plays. Of course, Mario Craver has continued to kind of flash and do some things kind of the right way. And we see some of our young guys starting to step up and make some of those plays as well.
I've seen Matt Williams and I might coach around 3.
Gregory.
Yes.
Seemed like they're having a really good
yeah, you talk about Madden Williams and you talk about Aaron Gregory, right? 2 stud receivers that we ended up getting a chance to recruit. I think they come in with a little bit of maturity. Of course, they have some unbelievable ability to go out there and play, but I think they're starting to kind of let the game kind of slow down a little bit, and you see those guys go out there and they're making plays, right? They got twitch, they have the ability to stretch the field vertically, really good hands, the ability to drop their weight, and we wanted guys that had size, but also, right, were pretty dynamic with the ball in their hands.
Generally speaking, how does the tight end kind of fit into your scheme? Is it different than maybe what Colin or what y'all been doing here in your class?
Yeah, well, when you talk about the tight end, I think CK, did a phenomenal job of basically using the tight ends when he was at K-State, and we tried to, incorporate that while we were here. The biggest thing is we recruit guys to come out, and for us, we want to scratch where it itches, but also we want to use our best 11, right? So the tight end is a big part and a big piece of kind of what we're doing. I'm not sure Richie's been doing a really good job, right, at the tight end spot. I saw Houston make a couple plays kind of today. We missed one with Kiati. Wish we could have hit him because he probably could have ended the 2-minute drill, right? But those guys have done a great job of continuing to show up, right? We got some young guys in KK and Caleb that are flashing but still need to kind of understand what we're doing, what we're asking them to do, and strain a little harder. But the tight end is a huge piece in the core of kind of what we do. If you looked at any of the situational stuff that we did today, we actually did some of the 3rd and short, right? So now you're playing with bigger personnel, you're trying to cover edges and cover some gaps. So those guys have to come up and show up, but also they have the ability to flex out and do some good things out there in the pass game as well.
At the beginning of the spring, you talked about Marcel trying to learn your system at like a PhD level. Now that you guys are on the field, does the on-field product match the kind of the cerebral?
Yes, it continues to do that. Now there are some things that we'll end up kind of going back to the tape and watching and talking about, where we want to leave the ball, what we could have done better. But just as far as the overall scheme and him actually putting the time in, you're starting to see him reap the benefits of it out there on the football field because there's a comfort and a poise that he's starting to play with out there.
You talked about the freshman receivers, Jaden Warren made a big play too.
Yes.
And then when you mix that with the experience and some of the production y'all have, how deep is this room? How many guys deep do you think you guys?
Yeah, I think we struck gold on the class that we have. There's no doubt that we felt like the room was really, really good. And now you talk about the 4 freshmen that you bring in that have a chance to come in and actually push the guys that are in front of them, right? So, we feel really good about those guys. And it's, we're throwing them to the fire right now, okay? We're putting 15 practices. There's a bunch of different situations. There's a new scheme, and they're trying to correlate, what they were calling this in high school to what it is now. And for some of those guys, they're running a ton of more stuff than they have kind of in their, past history. So what we try to do is take it day by day. Coach Perry's done a really good job of meeting with those guys and taking some extra time to get those guys kind of brought along. But we're giving those guys reps, and we're not donating them, and they're doing a good job of earning them and actually going out there and making plays in the process.
And then when we talked to you last, you said Justin Wente was a mentor of yours. What are some of the things that you kind of took from him that you feel like is still part of your scheme and your thoughts on offense?
Okay. Fu was always talking about putting speed in space and playing with fast guys, right? So we want to have a fast offense, and we're going to try to push the ball down the field. But everything that we do still starts with a run, right? So the core of what we do and the crux of what we do is those 6 guys up front, right? And I'm talking about the O-line as well as the tight end. And they did a great job of kind of moving some people around, right? Coach Cush ended up coming into those guys today and actually challenging them. And I was kind of, sitting there echoing the same thing. Hey, we go as you guys go. So they did a great job of coming in and actually taking that to heart and actually, bringing their hard hat today and working their tails off.
We're going to talk to Wilkin here in just a few minutes. Just what was it about him that y'all really liked with him out of the portal, and just when you've seen what he's brought to the table as kind of a veteran offensive line? Okay,
you talk about Wilkin, right? There's a lot of history right there. He actually went to high school with my daughters, right? I was at the University of Alabama when we recruited him. So when we heard word that he was, transferring and he was in the portal, Coach Cush asked me, he was like, what do you think about the kid? I was like, I think he's our kind of guy, and he's done a phenomenal job since he stepped foot on campus. He has a ton of experience. defense. He has some leadership qualities. He's big, he's athletic, he's strong, he can bend, he can anchor, right? Really good body quicks and really good foot quickness, right? So it's great to kind of have a guy like that has a ton of history, that won't flinch and knows what big time ball is, and he's coming and actually allowing that to kind of show the rest of our guys kind of what it's supposed to look like.
And just with the offensive line in general, just what are you learning about this group with so many new faces that you're having to replace, and just the way that's starting to shake out?
Yeah, I think when everybody talks about the offensive line, they talk about the developmental piece and how much of a developmental position that it is, right? But you see some of our guys starting to kind of take those strides and step into their own, right? You talk about a guy like Lamont Rogers, who's starting to put some really good tape, right, on film. And then you talk about Blake Ivy, who's had, in my opinion, one of the better springs, as you see a guy that has taken that jump from where he was last year to now and understanding, like, hey, here's what I'm trying to do, and he's doing it forcefully, right? Just as far as kind of moving guys and making a statement for why he should kind of be a guy for us, right? We had to go replenish a ton of guys and a ton of production that left. But that's kind of just how, college football is. So as we get to this point, we went out and we ended up dipping into the portal. We brought some really good high school guys in, but we've had some guys that were already on campus that feel like, hey, you know what, as a collective, we feel like we got, a good, group that can actually give us a chance to go out there and make hay in this conference.
A couple of big plays from Ruben Owens and Jamari Morrow today. Just What does the running back look like so far this spring?
Yeah, the running back room has looked really good, right? You talk about those guys that, have been chomping at the bit to kind of showcase kind of what they can do. And we're doing a little bit of things in the pass game as well as the run game, but they're doing a great job of running behind their pads. Morrow, I've pushed him because he's been a guy that has kind of dealt with some stuff. And I think it was just the fact of, kind of just where his weight was. And now you see him kind of trim a little bit of that off. And he's actually playing faster. I think he has a great understanding of what we're trying to do. And Ruben, right, I felt like at the tail end of the year and kind of where he is now, he's just picking up stride and continuing to create momentum, right? And hopefully that ends up kind of, showcasing kind of as the season comes on.
What growth did you want to see from Brady Hart this offseason? What have you kind of seen from him so far?
Yeah, well, with Brady, right, you talk about a redshirt freshman, and now all of these things are new, right? When you talk about him being with us for a year but not really getting a lot of snaps or a lot of reps. And now we end up kind of, sitting here as an offense, and we talk about it being the same system, but there's a little bit of a twist with me being here and, my personality and some things that I see. So he's kind of relearning some of those things, but he's done a great job as well as, a guy that can come in and put in the time, watch film, watch it on his own, kind of meet with our coaches and kind of see where he is, but also taking the necessary steps to get where he wants to be.
And when we talked to APR a few weeks ago, he said that he feels like the difference is this kind of feels more like an air raid offense. Is there any truth to that?
Oh, no, right? Hopefully that's a misnomer, right? Because everything that we do is going to start with the run, right? I'm an old running back myself, so we're going to lean on the backs of those guys up front, right? And we're going to sit there and create movement, run the ball with a physical run style, and we're going to use the RPO game for teams that want to overcommit guys, and we're going to push the ball down the field with our play action pass if they want to do it as well.
Curious how much you saw. I'm sorry.
Time for a couple.
Okay. I'm curious what you saw just in the recruiting process of Isaiah. How much maybe relationships with him, with Wilkin, and even Marcel, maybe played into him eventually choosing to come.
Yeah, it like as you continue to talk about these portal guys, like, I recruited Isaiah Horton out of high school as well, right? And then also when he was thinking about transferring, we had, some discussions, and he decided to go to Alabama. I think after he ended up going there and just, figuring out kind of what he wanted to do, and when he got back in the portal, I think he felt like this would be a good landing spot, and it's also a necessity and a need that we needed, right? We built the room around a big receiver, and we lost that guy, and now we had a chance to, go out and get another big body that can help us. And it does help the fact that, he had history with Marcel, knowing kind of who he was, because I think with any receiver, they want to go somewhere where they can win, but also they want to go somewhere where they feel like they have a guy that can get them the ball.
There are a couple more spring practices left for the spring game coming in 2 weeks from now. What do you think is still a bigger room for improvement, or just what do you want to see from your offense?
Everything, right? There's a ton of cleanup that we have to get, right? And we'll end up continuing to kind of go through the tape. But, our situational football awareness, us being able to line down and create movement, winning matchups consistently out there in space, the quarterback, basically getting us in the right sets, making sure guys understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, because that's all important, right? So if we can end up kind of cleaning the details up, I think we'll have, an unbelievable offense.